Simhachalam Dham Ke Jai. Jagannath Dham Ke Jai. Simhachalam Shinga Manja Ke Jai. Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ke Jai. Simati Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ke Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ke Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to Sisi, Garo, and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 10. Okay. Text 10, chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. The title of this chapter is Contents of the Gita Summarized. Tamu Acharisi Kesa Prahasani Bharata Senayo Ubayo Madhye Visidanta Idam Vachaha Tamuhacharisi Kesa Prahasani Bharata Senayo Ubayo Madhye Visidanta Idam Vachaha Tam Uacharisi Kesha Prahasani Bharata Senayo Ubayo Madhye Visidanta Idam Vachaha. Can someone try? Anyone else to try? Ladies? Any ladies to try next? Okay. Word for word translation and translation by Divine Grace. ISKCON Pandacharya. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Tam unto him O Acharya said, Rishikesaha, the master of the senses. Krishna, oh, sorry. The master of the senses, Krishna. Prahasan, smiling. He was like that. Bharata, O Dhritarashtra, descendant of Bharata. Senaya, of the armies. Obaya, of both parties. Madhya, between. Visidantam, unto the lamenting one. Idam, the following. Vachaha, words. Translation. O descendant of Bharat, at that time Krishna smiling, in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-striking Arjuna. Please kindly respond, repeat. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna smiling, in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The purport is very important to us because, ordinarily speaking, without Prabhupada's purport, we can give our own interpretations based on our own little understanding, which might not be very helpful. So we listen to the purport with rapt attention. The talk was going on between intimate friends, namely the Rishikesh and the Gudakesh. As friends, both of them were on the same level. But one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because a friend had chosen to become a disciple. As Lord of all, he is always in a superior position as a master of everyone. And yet the Lord agrees to be a friend, a son, or a lover for a devotee who wants him in such a role. But when he was accepted as the master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master, with gravity, as it is required. It appears that the talk between the master and the disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all, and friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Saksul Militam Yena Tasmai Si Gurube Namaha Sichetaya Mano Vistam Stafetam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandi Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodata Godadaya Puspavantu Chita Chandu Tamamand Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Simate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinam Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Vani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sonya Badi Pasatya Disatari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Siva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Binda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Vancha Kalpataribhyacha, Kripa Sunambhyayevacha, Patitanam Pavanam Vaishnavim Namo. So thank you for coming to join the class. We will always hear something. That is one of the essence of human life. Our ears are meant for hearing. So, the faculty of hearing is there for everybody. In other words, if it's in statistics, statistical language, we say hearing is a constant. What is changeable, what changes is the object of hearing. What you're hearing is what makes the difference. A typical example is when young boys come together, say they are in college. In most cases, they don't talk about the college course subject matters. They're talking about girls. Is it correct? Is it? Oh, yeah. I remember when we were in high school, we were in a boarding house. And all the bigger boys, we were the smaller boys, and all these bigger boys, each time they come together, is all about sex. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about, they don't come together to discuss about their course materials or, subject matters, no. So, talking and hearing will always take place. But what is the goal of the discussion? What do you hope to achieve at the end of the discussion? And how will it help to leverage society? How will it help to raise those parties who are involved in that discussion? How will it help to raise their consciousness? How will it help to leverage human society, the consciousness of human society? That is the question mark. So, we have our own hearing process, but we hear something about Krishna and his devotees. Why? Because this helps to leverage our consciousness. This helps to purify our consciousness. This helps to create a congenial setting where we will become decarcerated from enslavement to the sensory modalities and the mind. Now, I was traveling in the Caribbean, so I went to one of these islands, and they invited me to come and give a talk at the museum, the National Museum. And they were celebrating their 161 anniversary of abolition of slavery. So one of the topic that the director asked me to present was on emancipation from mental slavery. I don't know where you go with that topic, but that was fascinating to me because, that's what the Bhagavad Gita is about. The topics of the Bhagavad Gita they are all about, emancipation from mental slavery. People work so hard. They struggle. They have different frontiers in fighting against oppression, fighting against, inequalities in society. But you show me one organization that is fighting for the emancipation of mental slavery. Yeah, it is only ISKCON. It's only ISKCON. All of these other big organizations, they're coming together to prevent wars. Wars are going on. They're coming together to try to bring about peace in society. We don't find, relatively, there is peace, but in general, there are wars all over the continents. So, and then to engender all these processes, people have to meet. They come for meetings. And sometimes even in the meetings that are purposely geared towards bringing about peace, they are fighting in the meetings. They are fighting. The people who are looking for peace and coming together to, strategize for peace, they are fighting among themselves, Recently, they were meeting at the UN, and then, the Russian representatives were there, the Ukrainian representatives were there, and there was a fight. A physical fight, Right there in the middle. They come in to see how to profile peace. But then the people, they are so much enslaved to the mind and the dictates of the senses, they can't control themselves. So, yeah, you're very correct. The only organization that is striving for perfecting human society towards decarceration from mental slavery is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And so here in this very discussion, in this very text, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that here Arjuna, who was basically discussing with Krishna on the same platform as friends. When you're friends, you talk one-on-one as friends. You can dispute your friend what they say. You can argue back and forth until the other party provides such a solid argument with evidence before the other person will say, yes, I agree with you. Otherwise, it just, debates here and there. You go to, I don't know the case here, but if you go to the United States Congress, either in the Senate or the House of Representatives, someone has a good idea and brings up a bill, and people will try to critique and then find fault or throw the bill away. They have very good ideas. They have to do that because critique also means that I try to figure out what is good in what you're saying, what you're presenting, and also see what I can add to it. So sometimes people have some misunderstanding and misinterpretation of the mindset of scholars. Yes, we also critique. We go to the conferences, we critique. For instance, the reviewers of academic papers, they review your work and they critique your work. If it's not good enough to fit in, they reject it. So there are meetings. The board of directors will come meet together. But what is the purpose of the meeting? To make some evaluations and assessment. So here, Krishna and Arjuna were trying to evaluate a situation, and Arjuna realized, wait a minute. I can't really achieve my goal if I go on bringing my points and not yielding, not being ready to listen. To hear is one thing, to listen is another thing. You can hear, and then the stuff, it passes through this other side. But listening is an unexpected quality of a leader. Whether you are a parent, you are a teacher, you are a guru, listening to your dependents is so important. Why? Because listening makes that person it makes him feel valued. So if your opinion may even be different, but they feel they're valued, they are respected, they are esteemed. So yes, this is somebody I can follow. I follow your instructions. Tell me. But if you bring them down, no matter how great your ideas are, no, you will be rejected. Because you have trashed their ego. And the greatest obstacle to overcome in our lives, whether it is a spiritual life, a social life, a professional life, is the ego. And even in the universe, the ego is the biggest element to transcend. Oh, yeah. But Arjuna here decides to give up the challenge and accepts Krishna as the spiritual master. Accepts Krishna as his mentor. And now, Krishna smiles. You see, although Arjuna was disagreeing with Krishna, he was not angry. Sometimes people don't have the same opinion with us. And we'll get very upset. We say, who are you? I know better than you, you know? Who are you to disagree with me? No, you find that, Krishna, here's another element in the whole discussion between Krishna and Arjuna. The element of persuasion. Persuasion is a big concept in management science. For you to become a real valued parent, a real valued instructor, a teacher, you have to have that power, that skill of persuasion. Because you can't force even your own child. You may not be able to force your child to do the things you want them to do. You have to persuade them. You have to convince them with reasoning, belief system that is backed up with scientific values. Otherwise, there will be always opposite polarity of thoughts and ideas. And you will not come to a logical conclusion. So Krishna all the while was trying to persuade Arjuna to engage in his duty as a Kshatriya. Because Arjuna felt this is not ethical. This is unethical. See, it's not that Arjuna wasn't wrong in his argument, but there is something superior to mundane ethics. And that is one's prescribed duty. Therefore, Krishna mentions in the Gita, it is better to do your prescribed duty if even is done imperfectly than to give it up and do someone else's duties. So Arjuna was planning to just become a mendicant, become a sadhu. Just go and become a sadhu. Just beg, instead of getting into this violence. So Krishna did a lot of job. He's a Supreme Lord. Why don't Krishna just tell him, hey, Arjuna, okay, because I'm talking to you as a friend, you're trying to belittle me, you're not listening to me, damn you. You don't know I'm the Supreme Personality of God, eh? Fuck you. No. He was basing all of his talks. He was basing all of his ideologies on a communication system that is befitting for mutual relationship. If you apply, even you may know something. You may this is the right thing to do. Okay, so for instance, you have a child, and you know they are doing the wrong thing. And I say, I have a problem with this. As I travel around, I see so many things on the global village. And in most cases, the parents are to blame. Because in most cases, the parents, they just level the blame on their children, but the parents don't have skills such as, most parents don't have skills such as persuasion, to be able to persuade their ward or their dependent to do something which they may not even be willing to do. When you don't have that skill, then it comes to bullying. Hey, come on, do this. You don't know I'm your mom? Why are you talking to me like this? You just have to obey. As far as you are staying under this roof, you don't have any say. Sometimes we do like that, okay? But Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He could have just vetoed everything he said by himself and then ordered Arjuna, hey, you must do this or the highway. He was trying by all possible avenues to convince him, to persuade him. And that is why Arjuna found Krishna's value of persuasion so convincing. And therefore, he surrendered unto him. For someone to surrender unto you, you may have the cogent reasons. You may have the most powerful ideas on the planet. If you don't have that sense of persuasion, you may even put your words across in the wrong way that they will feel hurt and insulted. So here, Arjuna has realized, this my friend, he loves me. He is very reasonable. And he knows this stuff better than I do. So, you may know this stuff better than the person. How you cut your language across matters a lot. I remember in Washington, D.C., so there was a boy in the home I used to stay. So there was this boy. The mom is a nurse. The father is a medical doctor. So the nurse came back from work. I don't know what the boy did. So he was talking to the boy, but maybe her tone was unexpected. So this little boy, he asked the mother, so mom, and that's why you are harsh? You're talking harshly to me? In a very cool voice. The mom realized. She said, no. Because in America, if your child is reflecting those type of talks, then I think that you are at the brink of a great challenge. So the mother immediately, corrected herself. So the point is, yes, you may be at a vantage point of helping someone. How we help that person with our vocal cavity, with our tongue and our mouth, is what matters. There should be words selection, proper selection of words that are suiting to the purpose. Otherwise, you may have all the good ideas, and you say the wrong thing, or use the wrong word. I mean, in academia, this is so important, because you may have a thesis, a dissertation of 300 pages, and just one word, one word you misapply, they are returning your work to you for correction. You have to take another 2 weeks. So word selection is so important. Word choice is so important. And therefore, we have to be we have to have the mastery of word choice in communicating with people, in communicating with our words, in communicating with our followers, in communicating with team members, in communicating our ideas with members of our community. And of course, We have to have the word choice in communicating our ideas across to our family members, because the family is a microcosm of the community. So Arjuna got convinced that a number of reasons behind his decision, his valid decision to surrender to Krishna, to give up the arguments and surrender to Krishna. And when he did this, Krishna was filled with, with happiness. So he smiled. And then in the further verses, we see what Krishna says. Of course, even in some of the verses, Krishna chastised him. I mean, in one case, he said, "You speak, you speak like a learned person, but you see how you are lamenting about, what is even eternal. You are lamenting about. Just your knowledge is based on the body. Again, we said yesterday about identity crisis. So it's important to understand that at some point in time, our knowledge base alone is not enough to salvage us from any type of conundrum, any type of challenge we face. We should be open to seek help. Because by default, we are limited. We are circumscribed. Our brains are we're not even using 70% of our brain faculties. We are highly circumscribed. So we need help. And therefore, collaboration, networking, these are important things in Krishna consciousness. We should have friends that we should be able to collaborate and do things together, work out things together, share ideas. And that speeds up the process of self-realization. Living in a community like ours is pretty easy, but it's also difficult because we are coming from different backgrounds. And some people don't know how to talk. I remember one of my friends, when we brahmachari, he's also his family now. So he told me, when he became also his family, he told me one day we were discussing, he said, Maharaj, you remember what you told me when we were brahmacharis? I said, that was a long time ago, how can I remember? So he was telling me a story how one boy did something, and the way he spoke to him, so when the boy left, then I pounced on him and said, hey, you don't know how to talk. That is not how you should have spoken to that boy, because you hurt his emotions. So there are ways that we can help people. We need to be a little bit analytical and see how we are treating people and thinking of how, if they treat us in that same way, how we will feel. I mentioned about empathic communication also the other day, yesterday. And this is a weapon that every devotee in a community like ours, we need to have. We're speaking to somebody, if even it's your child, we have to understand that the child is also part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna said, Mama evam so jiva loke. Everyone is my parts and parcels. So your child is not your property. You are a caretaker. If you're doubting that your child is a property, okay, harm your child. Whether you not go to jail. I don't know the laws here, but in America, you're just going to jail, boy. Oh, yeah. So, We have to understand we are not the proprietors, we are caretakers. Even for those in management, for those who are leading teams, we are caretakers of the devotees. And therefore, it is important to understand that our ideas may not be the same all the time, but we have to sort out the difference. We have to have, in our lives, in our communications, and in our dealings, we have to have something we call, in management science, we call fallibilistic flexibility. We know we are fallible. Everybody on this planet, all embodied souls, are fallible. We can make mistakes. Why would we think that our idea is the best? Oh, because I am the mom, my idea is always the best. Or because I am the dad, my idea is always the best. Because I'm the breadwinner of the home, my idea is always the best. I was traveling in America, so I was in California. I went to one temple, Laguna Beach. I like telling this story because it's just so practical. It's called lived experience. I saw it. I saw it. So these were elderly couple, grandparents. Their kids have grown up, got married, and they're living on their by themselves. So I was asked by the temple president, the temple president asked this family to host me because they don't have accommodation in their temple in Laguna Beach at the time. So then we were going for a program. The husband was driving, so I was sitting with the husband in the front. The wife was behind. So the wife was having the directions. So she was giving directions to the husband, but the guy just completely ignored her. Completely ignored her. I was there seeing. So these are grandparents. They're supposed to, in America we say, you should grow, you need to grow. They're supposed to have grown. But the same this hogwash is still there. So when you ignore your spouse like that, what happens? They'll be very happy. Like Krishna was smiling, when Arjuna responded that, I'm surrendering to you. The spouse will be smiling, oh, wonderful. Of course, no. They will feel insulted. They will feel infuriated, feel belittled, feel emotionally abused. And that's emotional abuse. So then she really was upset, so she told him, all right, if you're not taking the instructions from me, we are going for a program so that Maharaj doesn't get late to the program. Can you call or message the host so that they will send you the directions so that you can follow that? So far, you are not following the directions I have. So the husband messaged the host. The host sent the directions. The same directions the wife was carrying, was having. These same directions. This is not story from the Puranas. Lived experience. If it's a story from the Purana, you may say, oh, that was in Satya Yuga or that was in, Treta Yuga. No, in the 21st century, just recently. So then, when we got to the gate, so the guys stopped, so he alighted from the car. I also alighted from the car, and then, he walked towards the gate to press the bell. So the wife also had alighted from the car, and she turned to me and said, so, in this world, if you're a woman, whatever you say is nonsense. So I said, Mantaji, what your husband did is completely wrong. Her countenance changed. She was her face was beaming with anger when she mentioned that. But when I responded that, look, your husband is completely wrong. I said, look, The point why I kept quiet is that I don't know you guys. I'm coming to your home for the first time. So I kept quiet. But your husband is completely wrong. I said, that is too abusive. I wonder how you're able to cope with this man for all these years. Her countenance completely changed. I guess she was thinking, oh, all the men, they are not like that, boy. Some are reasonable. So, communication and creating in our lives a fallibilistic flexibility. Fallibilistic flexibility implies you are not Krishna. You are not omniscient. You don't know everything. We don't know everything. We should create a room or an avenue where we can get some help from somebody. Even our own child can help us with information. Oh, yeah. Why we think that? Because I am the breadwinner, so I know everything. Or because I'm a man, so I know everything. And it's so gross sometimes. You find this type of stuff. So it is important for us to understand that even in a family setting, the sense or the skill of persuasion is required. You don't talk. The woman was angry, but she didn't speak to the husband harshly. She found an avenue that was a proactive approach to resolving the issue. Proactive in the sense that she didn't confront him. And then she sought some means to validate what the husband did. And then the validation came that husband was wrong. And sometimes some people, they just want to hear that their oppressor did the wrong thing. And they are just satisfied with that. If he or she didn't get the punishment. I remember the case of one police lady who killed one guy, one accountant in America. So the mother went to court. She lived, her flat is just up this guy's apartment. She was talking to a boyfriend on the phone. She lost sight of the floors. And then her floor is up. Now she went into this guy's floor, to this guy's apartment. And she's thinking that is her apartment. Her apartment is up. Because she was engaged in a telephone call with a boyfriend, she lost sight of control. And then when he saw this guy, he said, hey, what are you doing in my house? She brought out a pistol. Boo! Boo! Killed him. So the matter went to court. There was a riot in the city. Protest. The matter went to court. Talking about people, sometimes they just want to hear that the offender is wrong. They want to validate. They want a validation that the offender is wrong. That calms their mind. So then the younger brother of this boy, he was in university, he was in college. And the father and the other members of the family, they were in court prosecuting the case. Criminal case charged against the cops. But then it came to a stage when the lady, the female cops, confessed that she was sorry. She was sorry, and she apologized to the family. She was begging, almost like crying. The younger brother of this boy, this guy who was killed, who was the main champion that was, pressing this woman should go for life jail. His mind melted. His heart melted. That's how the whole family forgave the lady. So people want to see. People don't want to be like at a disadvantage point. Do people support them? And that is why even the child commits some crime or some offense, commits some offense in the home, and then the father carries a cane or something like that, want to spank. Sometimes they run to the mother. Yeah, the child may be wrong. But then, the mother begs the husband, please, please, he or she is taking shelter, please forgive. People want that uh, their opinion is validated. And so we need to be able to understand that we live in a community. Someone may say something you may not like. Don't go crazy. Be proactive. Try to calm yourself. And a typical example, another typical example is one 8-year-old girl that was also in America, in Florida. Yeah. Was it in Florida? I can't remember. I don't know whether it's in California or in Florida. But again, that was my own lived experience too. I gave a class in their temple. There was Ramnami or so. I was invited. No, that was in California. So I gave a class in the temple. And then just after the class, I've not even gone down from the outside. A gentleman approached me and he started confessing how he came back from work one day and he had a 8-year-old girl in the home. He came back, his daughter. He came back from homework. Nothing happened. No provocation. He started just raining abuses on the girl. Nothing he didn't tell the girl. But the girl was very un-American. What does that mean? Huh? Someone was abused by the guardian, by the parent. I say she was very un-American. A typical American girl would be 8 years old. You do that to her? No, she will call you 911 and get you arrested and go to jail. She didn't do that. She just kept quiet all through the episode. But then what did she do? After a few days have passed, the father has calmed down. Her temper also has calmed down from that offense, that humiliation. They were eating happily. And then she asked, Dad, the other day you came back from work and you did this to me, you did this to me, you did this to me. Did you have a fight with somebody in the office that day? 8 years old girl. 8 years old. And this, in conflict resolutions, this is basically a strategy we call the strategy of resolving deep-rooted conflicts. When you have to resolve deep-rooted conflicts, you don't offend back. You take a back seat and try to create an harmony when the other person's temper has come down. So a little girl of 8 years old, she adopted this strategy. So the father told me this, and immediately I told him, go and call that, bring your daughter quickly. So he brought the daughter. So I said, you should beg your daughter. This is not an ordinary person. Because otherwise, you should have been in jail. She would have just called the police. I know American girls, 8 years old. No, they can't do that to them. They will call the police for you. So she called the girl came, and I said, please beg her, pay obeisances to her. You did so gross. She's a Vaishnavi and you hurt her like this. You're going to get reactions in your devotional life. So he paid obeisances to her. She also paid obeisances back to him. They got up and the girl came to embrace the dad. That's how they solved the issue. So pro-action is important when we live in communities. When we live in a families, pro-action is important. So we should not think, even as parents, we should not think we know it all. We should act with restraint. And we should have word choices in our empathic communication with our partners, with our family members, with members of our team, and with community members. In this way, we'll be creating a very congenial atmosphere for collective devotional growth. And then we can surrender to Prabhupada collectively and work collectively for expedited devotional purification. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for the amazing lecture. I have two questions, but maybe just one, and then I'll see if somebody else has. You talk about persuasion at the beginning, and I kind of feel that sometimes, a lot of times, it has a negative connotation. Persuasion, like kind of like I have motivations, and yeah, and I try to kind of like cheat to go on my way. So I would like to, I would like to if you can elaborate on the difference on persuasion.
Yeah, you see, this is a strategy used by high-powered leaders. They speak, and if somebody is not even willing to do something, they are able to convince them with reasoning, logic, belief based on scientific evidence. That is persuasion. So in most cases, people in general, they have misconceptions of management terminologies or even political terminologies. Because, for instance, most devotees, they don't want to hear the word about politics. You see, so we need to understand things. Every word, for instance, has a connotative and a denotative meaning. For instance, you say a table. This is a table. Table is a furniture material which you can use in writing, eating, whatever. But table also connotatively could be used as a verb. So I've tabled my problem before you. This is not in its connotative. This is not a denotative meaning of table. But this is presented in a connotative format. So every word basically has a denotative and connotative meaning. And if we check some of the terms that we find in everyday reality, the implications of those terms connotatively in management science is completely different. Yeah. What's the other segment of your question?
The other one, you spoke before, of course, of the importance of communication and word selection. But of course, like a lot in the communication is also through the body language, yeah? But I feel that a lot of times body language is it comes from your innate karma, yeah? It's very difficult to change willingly. So, so it feels that sometimes communication, for certain people, it's very hard because they have the ways of interacting that just easily get perceived wrongly or like harsh. Or so if you can speak on how to...
Yeah. When we are dealing with somebody, we should also understand their characteristic features. For instance, if you are my friend and you understand that, instead of telling you, Brian, please, how can I understand this point that you said the other day? I would love that you clarify some of my ambiguities, because that will create a lot of meaning in our relationship. Now, instead of saying something in a polite way, I said, Brian, and you have the guts to say that? So, you see, we're trying to pass an information. We have some feeling. I want to pass an information. So it's an art. Communication is an art. And especially empathic communication means that And there are specialists for this. I know one doctor of psychology who developed this very principle in America. And it's a whole course that he gives to people. I think some of our devotees did those courses in empathic communication. And in most cases, people don't know how to communicate their feelings. Either they raise their tone, I mean, like the child, the mother I was talking about, that she was trying to correct the child for something, but then the child perceived it, that she was being harsh. And immediately, when the child raised the issue, then she corrected herself. Okay? So, in some cases, we don't have that talent of empathic communication, or how to respond to situations empathically, or how to respond to situations proactively. Proactive, there are two ways to respond to someone. You can respond proactively, or you can respond reactively. So, for instance, you said something, like the same example that I gave. So I asked you something. I was asking something you said the other day that I need some clarification. And then instead of coming in a polite way, in a proactive way, in the sense that something happened, but I'm thinking, what's the best way to help this girl? She said this to me, but what's the best way to help her? So then, whatever that is coming out from my vocal cavity, from my mouth, should be something that is based on how to remedy the situation, not fighting back. Because if someone is an older folk, or someone is a team leader, I mentioned also this the other day, that traditionally humans, we are wired to resist change. We are wired to resist change. So you may say something very good for somebody, and just because, especially when you're in a position of authority, people don't like you. If you are not in a position of authority, virtually everybody may like you. Yeah. So, look, let's get these points clearly. And that is why the child, I've seen little kids, before, even in their monosyllables, they argue with the parents, they argue with the mother. They say, no. They don't even know what you're saying. But it just instantly is there to resist any change. We always want to claim as if we are the Ishwaras. Who are you to control me? Ishwaroham, I am the Ishwara. Who are you to control me? This is the problem, okay? Let's understand this, and the devotees could live very peacefully together. Otherwise, little things could escalate in ways that are not even necessary. And like I mentioned, living together is a very big challenge. Just see, in a community like this, if someone is married, okay, they can tolerate the spouse because there is some exchange of sense gratification. But in a community like this, there's no exchange of sense gratification, okay? Okay? You're a volunteer. You're a volunteer, okay? So in most cases, you're not being paid. If even you're being a stipend, it's just nothing compared to real salary, in most cases. And therefore, we have to treat the people around us as if these are the people who are going to stand by your deathbed during your last breath. It's a challenge. But these are the strategies that we are given also by Bhakti Tirtha Swami when in his last teachings on the planet. Yeah. Community development, and I remember in New York City, I I gave a seminar, I gave a presentation on community development, because they wanted me to do that, to be able to help with recreating a sustainable future, a devotional future for the community. So when people are living together, it's a big challenge. Even husband and wife is a big challenge, but then they tolerate each other because there is exchange of sense gratification. Here, there's no exchange of sense gratification, volunteering. So there are bound to be some misunderstanding and psychological conflicts. But then what the leaders need to understand is that create an avenue, not only a fallibilistic flexibility in your life as a leader, you have to create an avenue where there is psychological safety. Psychological safety means someone says something and they don't get a retaliation for what they say. Someone observes something, brings up a point, and they don't get a retaliation because of the observation, because of what they say. On the broader spectrum, that is happening in ISKCON. Oh yeah, it's happening. So we have to see how we're living our lives to be dependent on Krishna and to be dependent on Lord Nrsimhadev. We see each other as Prahlad. How do we treat Prahlad? If he comes to our house, he comes to our apartment, we treat him the way we will treat Lord Nrsimhadev, because he's very dear to Lord Nrsimhadev. Nrsimhadev loves him because of his devotion. So we have to understand. It might be difficult. See, I was traveling in Canada, so I was in Montreal, and one devotee was traveling from, he came from Toronto with a group of brahmacharis on traveling Sankirtan. And he came to me to ask for advice on how best to help the brahmacharis traveling with him for the Sankirtan and Harinam. I said, oh, I can give you a very simple idea. She said, please, Maharaj, tell me. I said, so treat all these boys traveling with you. They sacrifice their lives. They're young people. They have graduated from universities. They're giving their lives to Krishna. Treat them the way you love your beloved younger brother. Treat them like that. You know what he said? He looked at me right in the face. He said, Maharaj, this is very difficult. I said, what is the difficulty? You sit down on the asana and you quote, Mama Evam so Jiva Loki, Jiva Bhuttosanatana. Here is time to put that into practice. Yeah. The solutions Krishna has given us, everything. We need to just implement. And we will be living in Goloka Vrindavan right here. All right, any other comment or last comment? We're already beyond 1 hour now. Yes, please.
Maharaj, you mentioned that, I have to admit, I forgot the precise phrase, but as much as ISKCON is the only movement who can, that phrase I forgot, who can deal with mental
emancipation.
Yes. So
mental slavery.
Yeah. Could we not say there are many somewhat spiritual organizations and communities of people who also, to some extent, rise above their minds?
There are people who are also making propagation about spirituality, especially impersonalism is very dominant on the planet. But you know what? If you go deeper into most of their philosophies, it comes down to one thing: impersonalism. And at the end, they want to enjoy the Supreme. They want to merge into the Supreme. That is a sense of enjoyment. And so, it is only the personalists who identify the jiva as eternally part and parcel of Krishna. And there is no time in history. So Lord Brahma said, Yenye Ravidaksha Vimukta Maninas Tavasta Bhava Avisuddha Buddhaya. Someone thinks he's going to merge into the Brahman Jyoti and remain there, enjoy bliss. Brahma said, this is Avisuddha Buddhaya, impure intelligence. So just the idea of merging into Brahman effulgence. Lord Brahma, the authority of this universe, the supreme authority of this universe, he said this is Avisuddha Buddhaya, impure intelligence. And so yes, there are people who are teaching about God consciousness, and you find that they are doing their best. They're doing their best. And ultimately, Lord Krishna mentions everyone is on his path. Even those who are not teaching. Those who are even grossly involved in sinful activities, criminal activities every day, Krishna said they are on a path. They are coming. It's a matter of time. They will evolve. Gradually you come to the state where they can have fixated consciousness on the Supreme. Bhaunam jamanamante gyanava mam prapadyanti vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudulabha. To come to this platform, Krishna said, is very, very rare. Very, very rare. And so, yes, there are people, but ultimately we find that even in India you go, the personalists, there's a small, very small fragment of the population. Very small. Because in India you find all these different type of worship, Panchapachakas worshipping 5 different type of deities, and then they have the conception that all the deities, they are all the same. So yes, I agree with you. There are people who are also striving to be able to come to that level of perfection. But you look at what they are doing. Even the people that, we don't want to say people are not doing their best. But I tell you one thing, the most respected person on this planet in religion, he eats meat. They are doing their best. So we don't point accusing fingers to people and say, hey, we are the best, you know. No, we don't do that. But in practice, you see, it is only in Krishna consciousness that strategic approach to spiritual evolution is being taught. If you go to Christianity, Islam, think about the New Age spiritual traditions. Most of us have gone around all those circles before we come to get stuck with Krishna. So yeah, they are doing something, but you cannot compare that. I remember one time, when Bhakti Swami was preaching in Africa, one time some leaders of a particular Christian denomination, they come to invite him that their leader is around and he's inviting him. I don't want to call the name of the organization. And so Bhakti Swami said, yes, I'm ready to come and, come and see your leader. And I understand you said it's God, so I'm ready to come and see him. So he asked them, before I come with you, let me know one thing. Are you a vegetarian? They said no. But if your leader is God and you are still practicing violence, gross violence against animals. How can I come to see that type of God? So they left defeatedly. So there people are professing all types of stuff. Spirituality, devotion, and all these things. But what are their daily practices? Are they being violent? In most cases, yes. So it's only in this moment that we find, right from day one, you are told, plain blank. This is wrong. This is right. You like a practice. That's why we say that if we bring any religious tradition or spiritual organization, what they're practicing, whether violence is not being committed. I tell you, all of it. The major religions of the world, they are involved in committing violence. Yeah. We can say this and condemn people out there. You ask a question, so that's what I'm explaining. We appreciate what everyone out there is doing. We are not Christians to go and say, hey, worshippers of demigods, you're just full of material desire. Huh? No, we don't preach like that. We don't create disharmony. We try to create cohesion. We try to create friendship. We don't go and attack people. Yeah. Okay, I think we have to adjourn this meeting. It's getting okay. You wanted to ask a question, yeah? Yes.
You were talking about communication, and I was wondering, how do you create a space, a community which is inducing or encouraging others for self-expression? You know, oftentimes devotees also, because of being soft and so thoughtful, they just don't communicate their own desires that I don't want to do this service or I want to do this, and which end up not communicating their needs and burning themselves out. So the duty of the organizers, managers, leaders comes that they need to make them realize that, no, you can communicate.
Yeah. If people are not communicating, we should motivate them to communicate. Because sometimes we nurse a particular type of aspiration, and then we're trying to be in a particular situation, pretending to be what we're not. We have an agenda, but then we're not preparing to be able to meet up with that agenda. We're doing something else. So that is why it is important for our communities to create an enabling environment for psychological safety. Yeah. Even in the homes. You see, I'm talking this out of experience. Some students are committing suicide because of lack of psychological safety in their homes. The parents impose their ideas on the child. No, we want you to go and study medicine. That's what you need to go and study. I remember a case of one student. The father has a PhD in clinical research. Mother has 2 masters. But then, none of them studied medicine. In America, if you're a doctor, you're like a demigod. But it's not so easy to go and be a doctor in America, okay? You work more than hard. And so they're forcing this girl to go and study medicine. And she was doing engineering, computer engineering or something like that. Real hard knock, robotics or something like that. Real hard knot. And then she has to do also pre-med, because you want to go study medicine, you have to do pre-med. In America, you have to have your first degree before even you talk about going to medical school. Unlike the cases in Europe where, from high school or HSC, you can just do the right exam and then you go into medical school. No, America is not like that. It's like even law, the same thing. So they make things really like tough. So people should be given a chance. Kids should be given a chance to allow themselves to express what. I remember, see, when I was a kid, even 5 years old, my dad would ask me, hey, what do you want to be in life? They want to find out from you first. They don't want to impose their ideas on you. Because I've seen situations, even in America, even in Ivy Leagues, students have committed suicide because the parents impose their ideas on them. Okay, to study medicine is so profitable. Why don't you go study? You're forcing your child to go and study. So it boils down to, again, psychological safety in the family, in the community, in the teams. If people have a sense of psychological safety, they'll be able to express their thoughts, their feelings, or what they plan on doing. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.